with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. We broadcast live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. We have been on hiatus since Friday last week, so I am sorry about that, but boy, does it feel good to be back and be behind the microphone. It is a Wednesday, so that means
Day.
Yeah, that's right. So we got some headlines for you in the NBA. We got some headlines for you in the NHL. We got some headlines for you in golf, which is exciting as well. So stick with us for the entire show. If you want to get in on the action, youtube.com/12OZ Sports. Comment right there on the comments section or x.com/12OZ Sports. The Rome Show 1 is the social media handle for the Rome Show straight up. If you miss any part of the show and you want to share it with a friend, or you go through another 4-day hiatus without a live show, because, you know, I do go on vacation, you know, and I'm a human. The Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to an older show, or you can share a previous show with a friend so they know they need to listen to this show. Without further ado, let's get into some sports. I want to start in the NBA today because the New York Knickerbockers went down 3-1 in their series against the Indiana Pacers last night. And the last time I had turned this microphone on was after their game 2 loss, or excuse me, game 1 collapse, actually, was the last time I spoke to the people. And so now, 4 games later, you're looking at what probably should have been a sweep. Okay. The Knicks were down by 20 in game 3, and they lost in game number 4. So when you look at the totality of the 4 games played so far, you're saying to yourself, wow, this Knicks team is very lucky to even still be in this series. Last night, Tyrese Halliburton went off, had a triple-double, did the young superstar from Indiana, 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 15 assists to lead the Pacers to a 130-121 victory. The difference for me in this game was 2 things, and they're the same thing, okay? Excuse me. Coming out of the locker room in quarter number 1, the New York Knicks all postseason have not been good. They just haven't. They have been a slow starting team coming out of the gate for at least the last 2 series. I mean, think about it, okay? They had a 20-point game 3 comeback versus the Indiana Pacers, and twice, in order to beat the defending champion Boston Celtics, also had to have 20-plus point comebacks, okay? That's like the only time in the history of the NBA a team has come back from 20 points or more down in the third quarter or later and won the game. They've done it 3 times. So at some point in time, are you just a team that doesn't quit, or are you a team that cannot start? Or are you both, which is good, but it's not good enough to win a championship? It's not good enough to beat an Indiana Pacers team that A, has knocked you out of the playoffs before last year, but B, has been to an Eastern Conference Finals and has lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. So they now know what it takes to get past that point. And right now, the Knicks, point 1, slow start the game. Point 2, they lost that game yesterday because of the start of the third quarter. Because no matter what, okay, slow start, no slow start, whatever. You outscore the Pacers by 3 points in the second quarter, and you go into halftime down by 5 or 6. So in basketball, 6 points is one possession now. That's how quickly the game changes. Okay, so we're not talking about an astronomical deficit, coming out of the halftime break, but 2 turnovers instantaneously to start the third quarter and 2 buckets instantaneously to start the third quarter. And the Pacers go on to roll 33-27 in that 12-15 minutes. And that's the difference in the game, because now the Knicks are playing from behind for the entirety of the last 30 minutes of this game. And though we've just talked about them coming back from 20 plus down 3 times, that well runs out. And by the way, good teams find a way to not let that happen. And this Pacers team, key word there, team, is so good. So good. They could be the best team. I'm not talking about talent and coach and general manager and MVPs. No, I'm just talking about team. A group of individuals that play together for a common goal. Team. That's what the Indiana Pacers are. Pascal Siakam, 30 points last night. Aaron Naismith, 16 points last night. Miles Turner, 13 points last night. Tyrese Halliburton, 32 points last night. How about this one? Benedict Mathurin, 20 points off the bench last night in 12 minutes. Your bench yesterday had 37 points. Huge, huge. When you look at the bench of the New York Knicks, did not have that. They were outscored. The bench of Indiana outscored the bench of the Knicks 37-21. Knicks lose by 9 all year. And it's not a easy out because they're playing more bench players are the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau has gone a little bit deeper this year than he's ever gone on his bench. And I personally think it's fantastic. Okay. But that still doesn't mean production lines up. And your bench being outscored by 16 points. One dude scored 20 off the Pacers bench, and all 5 players that entered the game for the Knicks combined for 20. Okay? So that's the depth or the issues that I see for the Knicks. And they had such a big lead in game number 1. That was the series right there, because it was a dogfight from the beginning. And when you're watching this series play out, you're saying to yourself, Indiana's clearly the better team, especially right now. Okay? They're healthier, it looks like. They're fresher, it looks like. They're more energized, it looks like. They're more engaged with what they want to do. They're in who they are at all times. Don't matter what happens on the other side. And so you look at this series now, 4 games in, and you're saying, I don't know if the Knicks should even have a win on the board. And they were up by 20 in the first game. They were up by 8 with less than 50 seconds left in game 1. And you're going to unfortunately look back on this series and say that was the series. The other thing you should look back on the series and say is Tyrese Halliburton is a bona fide, knockdown, straight up superstar. Okay. And I don't often agree with what a guy like Stephen A. Smith says. I'm not here to bash him either. I'm not saying that. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea, but I heard something Stephen A. Smith said the other day. I was like, I got to give him some props on the radio on tomorrow, because he's right. A superstar is defined by the dude that shows up in the moments that are the most important and their team needs it. And that's what Tyrese Halliburton has done since entering the league for Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton, a draft pick out of Iowa State, okay, was legit at Iowa State. But as these things happen in the draft process, you start to see where people rate guys. And Tyrese Halliburton gets picked 12th overall and goes to the Sacramento Kings. Okay. And if anyone knows anything about the NBA draft, if you're not a top 5 pick, no one believes you're actually going to help here. Now, that's a lie, because over the history, at least of my lifetime, there's been plenty of not top 5 picks, not top 10 picks that have had electric careers. The one I think about the most is Nikola Jokic. Okay. But Tyrese Halliburton spends his first 2 years in Sacramento. All right. Pretty solid, pretty good years. Clearly proves he should be in this league. In his first 2 years, he essentially averaged 13.5 points and 6 rebounds for the Kings. He then gets traded to the Indiana Pacers in 21-22. And to the credits of the Indiana Pacers, they build their franchise around this guy. Okay. And it's funny because you look at the last 2 years, he's been in Indiana for, this is his 4th year now. You look at years 2 and 3, he averaged the most amount of points in his career those 2 years. Okay. 20.7 in 22-23 and 20.1 in 23-24. But what's going on this year for the Indiana Pacers? This is the best possible team, their best opportunity to win a championship. He's playing the most consistent ball he's ever played, and he's got more around him. So his average per game we will see if the New York Knicks can survive a game number 5. Tonight, the Minnesota Timberwolves are asking themselves the same exact question, okay? Because OKC got slaughtered, all right, slaughtered in game 4 and bounced back and won a 2-point decision in got slaughtered in game number 3, won a 2-point decision in game number 4 on Monday. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 40 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin, okay, Nickeil Alexander-Walker came off the bench for Minnesota at 23 points, okay? The bench for the Timberwolves was the only reason that the T-Wolves were in this game. The combination of Alexander Walker, Shannon Jr., Naz Reid, and Dante DiVincenzo combined for 64 of Minnesota's 126 points. And this is the problem for the Timberwolves. This is why the New York Knicks traded Julius Randle. Okay. The inconsistencies in him and his game are off the charts. How do you have a game? Okay. A game 4 after everybody and their mother does anything they want in game 3. Julius Randle in game 3 had 24 points. Okay. 2 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Okay. 9 of 15 from the field in 30 minutes. In game number 4, he had 5 points. 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. How does that happen? In game 2, he had 6 points. How does that happen? I just don't understand. How can a player disappear so quickly? Game 1, 28. Game 2, 6. Game 3, 24. Game 4, 5. You can't win consistently with that. Anthony Edwards needs somebody that can show up more consistently. Let's look at the series that the Timberwolves have won versus the Lakers. In 5 games, he averaged 22.6 points per game. Electric. Versus the Golden State Warriors. In 5 games, Julius Randle averaged 25.2 points per game. Electric. In the conference finals, 4 games versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, Julius Randle's averaging 15.8 points per game. Your best players, the players you build around in the biggest moments, the most important games, they need to show up. They have to show up. And Julius Randle is not doing that for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I come back to, again, why the trade was made to switch Karl Anthony Towns and Julius Randle. You could say there's an aspect of that in Karl Anthony Towns' game as well, but wow, it is way more drastic with Julius Randle. Hence the reason why Knicks fans from the jump never fully appreciated his 5 years here, because they were too annoyed at the inconsistencies, especially at the most important times. And yeah, you got to credit the Thunder, best defensive team in the league, okay, as to why that inconsistency happens. But at the end of the day, like we just talked about with the Pacers, Halliburton shows up. It's not just Halliburton, though. Whereas all these other teams that we talk about that aren't as good, that end up falling off and losing, they're not deep enough 3, 4, 5 guy in the consistency factor. It's one thing to have 9 guys that can play the game on the floor. It's another thing to have 9 guys that show up consistently every night. Can your bench players play the same at home that they do on the road? Can your all-star give you 20 every night because he averages 27? Or is he going to give you 35 and 16, which also will average you 27 probably, but not the good kind of 27? You know, is your best player going to have the most turnovers on the floor, the most shots taken, the most misses, but also the most points? Like, those things matter, and it's a consistency factor. And right now, you look at the Thunder and you look at the Pacers, and they're on a crash course to face each other in the finals. And that might not be the sexy pick for the NBA, but it makes sense. They are the best built teams in the league right now. They are the deepest, most team-oriented, best coached, most bought in. They are exactly what everyone believes it would take to win a championship. Both of these teams are. Whereas you watch the Timberwolves and the Knicks, probably who everyone actually wanted in the finals, because that would have been a lot of fun a year after the trade, they meet each other in the finals. Probably what everyone really wants. And you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the sexy pick, but you're going to get the best basketball. I think if you get the Pacers and the Thunder in the finals, you are going to get a legitimate 7-game series. So I guess that gives you my pick for tonight. I think the Thunder close it out. They're favored by 8.5 in this game. Maybe I will make that a later on in the show. We're going to make a quick commercial break. When we come back, PGA Tour on the docket and maybe a little NHL. However, we don't want to spoil that fully for you today, because on Thursday, we are going to get a little hockey with Rocky in the building, because obviously we were off on Tuesday. So he will be giving us a plethora of National Hockey League news tomorrow between 7:10 and 7:35. So you have to join us for that. So when we come back, I got PGA Tour, an update on the National Hockey League, and then we get you out of here on the Rome Show. 12OZ Sports, YouTube, X. Andrew, back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12-Ounce Sports, we've got them, with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them. Yeah. Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12-Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah! The Rome Show on a
Hump day.
Yay! Andrew Romanella, you the people. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and X. Hope you're having a blast with us. If you missed the first 20, we talked National Basketball Association, the Knicks, some of their struggles, the Pacers, some of their successes, the T-Wolves, the Thunder. Game 5 tonight. Thunder favored in that game by 8.5. In the National Hockey League, the Carolina Hurricanes went 19 years. Okay, 19 years without winning a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, anyone that listens to hockey might know that's like a wild stat because it's like, well, the Hurricanes have been really good. Yeah, and they've won a Stanley Cup, okay, in my lifetime, okay? So they've always been a historically good franchise. But since that Stanley Cup victory, since their successes in the early 2000s, it has been since 2006 that the Carolina Hurricanes have won a game in the conference finals. Well, the other day, they were able to break that trend and keep their season alive against the Florida Panthers. That was Monday with a 3-0 victory. So we head back to Carolina for game 5 because remember, the Hurricanes are the higher seed and the home team in this series for a game number 5 tonight where the Hurricanes look to stay alive again. Kind of crazy to think that a team that good gets to that point in the season. And it's been that long since they found just a game of success, not even getting past it to the Stanley Cup, just a game of success. And that just goes to show you how difficult sports are, okay? There's no reason why that trend should be staying through a 20-year period, but there's a mental hurdle there. There is a block you have to get past. That is a thing. You might not want to think it's a thing. It's not. Any player will come on the microphone. It's not a thing. We don't really care about the history. We are this team and blah, 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 blah. But the fact is, the more this happens, the longer it goes, the more it does weigh on you. The more you get a media member asking questions about how your franchise hasn't won a game in this period in 20 years or whatever the case is. I'm not saying this is about to ignite a Carolina Hurricanes 4 straight victory, 3-0 comeback, make it to the Stanley Cup. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes it just takes that little bit of a breakthrough for not just you, but now the history of the franchise. It's like if the Minnesota Twins could ever make the playoffs and then beat the Yankees. If that could ever happen, I bet you see an entirely new Minnesota Twins franchise. But there's something there with the Twins making the postseason and A, just losing in the first round, but B, losing to the Yankees. It's like they've maybe won one playoff game against the Yankees in like the last 15 they've played. Carolina, same way in the Eastern Conference Finals. They get a big win in Florida nonetheless, shutting them out 3-0. Let's see if they can come back and extend this series at home in Game 5. I want to say they do. I really, really want to say they do. Maybe I'll give you that in a later on in the show. On the other side, last night, Edmonton takes a 3-1 series lead against the Dallas Stars with a 4-1 complete victory. Edmonton now moves to 6-0 in the postseason when leading by a goal or more after the first period, with which they did last night. Stuart Skinner, since May 10th, according to NHL.com, has been the best goaltender in the league. Okay, so during the postseason, he's been that good. Rocky said it to start our coverage of the playoffs. Edmonton is Edmonton that we've always known. They're really good offensively. What are we going to get on the defensive side, more specifically in between the pipes? Well, this iteration, of the Edmonton Oilers has gotten an electric version of Stuart Skinner. What he's done so far in 9 games played in the postseason, a 2.47 goals against, 222 saves, a 910 save percentage. He's only given up 22, and he's got 5 victories in that time period. I think 2 shutouts, if I'm not mistaken. He also improves to like 5-1 or 6-1 or something crazy like that in game 4s in his career. So Edmonton now looking to close out Dallas coming up here in 48 hours. And now all of a sudden you have what was the tightest version of 2 sets of playoffs, the NHL and the NBA, right? Upsets, kind of really tight series. You now have 4 conference finals between the 2 sports with 3-1 series. Isn't it crazy how that happens? It's like, oh, maybe that team played a little bit above their head. Maybe that team wasn't playing well enough, but now they're playing to the best of their potential. It starts to shape itself out. So I do not want to see 4 straight gentlemen's sweeps. I'd like to see some game 6s here. Maybe somebody come all the way back and force a game 7. Okay. Let's hope. Again, I might make those picks in a second. I want to finish here in the PGA because the PGA Tour has decided to make some changes to their championship. Oh, wait, I got to do this real quick. Yay. Okay, here it is. PGA Tour is going to change or adjust the way they do their tour championship format. So if you don't know, now you know, or you might already know this. The players on the PGA Tour compete in the FedEx Cup standings, okay? So what they're doing is they're generating points throughout the entire year to give themselves standings when it comes down to the Tour Championship Series, okay? Well, that used to be where if you were the number 1 guy in terms of points, you started below par a certain amount based on how many points above the next guy you were. So, for example, last year, Scottie Scheffler started the tournament, the Tour Championship. It's a 72-day tournament at -10 because of where his points had gotten him throughout the year. Okay. Colin Morikawa finished in 2nd place and he started at -4. You see what we're talking about there. Well, I guess the PGA Tour feels like this is not a good model. I would agree with them. And it's not entertaining for its fans. Also would agree with them. And they also don't feel like the Tour Championship has much pizzazz around it, much like the Masters or the PGA or any of the majors that you watch. So now, moving forward, starting this year, the top 30 players in terms of the FedEx Cup standings will go into the playoff, and then that's it. You 30 are playing in the postseason. You have 72 holes to duke it out. The winner gets a bonus and a 5-year PGA Tour exemption, meaning they could suck for the next 5 years, not make a cut in the next 5 years worth of tournaments, and they are still good to play in every PGA Tour tournament. So a little bit of an adjustment here for the FedEx Cup, and I'm excited about it. I'm here for it. Okay. I think golf is on a real uptick, and this is a really smart move by the PGA Tour. By the way, my golf game on a real uptick. Played 2 rounds over the Memorial Day weekend. One wasn't great. The second one was way better, but it's one of those things where my 36 holes were trending. We are trending. Exciting summer for Andrew Romanella's golf career. Let's finish this thing with some picks in both the National Hockey League and the NBA.
Ba 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 na na ba 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 na na.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Starting in the National Hockey League, we have the Florida Panthers at the Carolina Hurricanes. The over-under on this game is 5.5, okay? And obviously, Florida is favored. Give me the Carolina Hurricanes and give me the over 5.5. Carolina, over 5.5. I think they extend this series at home. Give their fans something else to cheer about. Get them a little excited just to lose by 4 goals in Florida in game number 6. And then in the NBA, Oklahoma City versus Minnesota, game 5. OKC favored by 8.5 here. Okay. And the total 220.5. I'm going to stay away from that total there. Okay. Now I'm going to take Minnesota at the plus 8.5. Okay. I think it's going to be a tight one. Now I'm going to take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 25 points. Minnesota plus the 8.5. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 25 points. And those are my Tuesday. That's right. Those are my Tuesday bananas. And that is the Rome Show on a Tuesday. We hope you enjoyed it. Or Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. It's a Rome Show on a Wednesday because it's day. And we're back after a hiatus. Sorry to do that to the people. I'll try not to do it again. We're back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Remember, Rocky joins us for Hockey with Rocky at 7:10 to break down the National Hockey League playoffs just a little bit more. Andrew Romanella, you have an electric day, and until tomorrow, peace.
Thank you for listening.